Welcome back to Tranquility du Jour, nourishing conversations about living a full and meaningful life with doses of tranquility. This is episode 563. I'm your host, Kimberly Wilson, bringing you tranquility through this podcast since 2005. So it's been a while since I did a Life Lately segment, and I wanted to just give a peek into some things that have been going on. And also my hope is that this will resonate with you because I do feel like it's been quite a hard time for many people. Somewhat seeing this across the board in Saturday's virtual retreat. You know, we were even talking about just the challenges of life right now. And it's not as if, I don't know, we've been living in the pandemic, 20 months now? It's not even like it's just that. I don't know, for some reason, things are just feeling quite heavy for people. And so I just want to mention that in case you too have been experiencing that, to know that you are not alone. One of the pieces that, I wanted to mention, which many of my wonderful listeners have already heard, is that we lost Belle Starr unexpectedly in late August 23rd. So it's been 8 weeks as of Monday. And it's interesting. I've definitely been through loss before, of course, quite traumatic, right? My grandmother in 2012, my firstborn Kitty in 2013, my beloved Louie, who it was his birthday, would have been his 17th a couple days ago. And, and now Belle. And the thing about it is, and of course, like the studio, so many different things, right? But yet the thing about Belle is that it was a shock. Right. So we took her into the emergency vet and we got a call that she was doing great. She was stable. She'd probably be able to go home the next day. And then we get a call 3 hours later. And these 3 words will haunt me forever, is like, Belle stopped breathing. Right. It's just like, oh my God. So as you can imagine, like the shock, I've never had shock like this around loss of someone or a being that I'm so close to. And so it's just been quite challenging. And what's interesting is, we got back from our travels early July. And then I just noticed myself kind of mid-July, just like not posting as much on social and what have you. And it wasn't conscious. And, I just was like, kind of just taking a little bit of a step back. And then in August, I sent out a love note and let people know I'd be kind of just stepping back for the month just to like replenish, regroup a little bit. I wanted to do some reevaluating of things. And then, of course, losing Belle later that month just kind of like, sent things into a bit of a spiral. So I feel like I'm slowly kind of crawling back out. But I do think my crawling back out, things will be different. And what I mean by that is just more intentional with social, not spending as much time on it. I also will be getting off Facebook. I've mentioned this before, and I'll be doing, some announcements. So people who do fall on Facebook and maybe not on Instagram or the Love Note can kind of transition over. I just feel I don't want to be pulled in so many directions. And again, I just want to be more intentional and conscious with my time and energy. One of the big things that I'm working on right now is the new annual program for 2022, which I'm really excited about. My group for this year has just been delicious. Such an amazing group, and, just so generous of spirit and kindred spirits, and really, really delightful. And so my hope is to be able to recreate this in 2022. And I have some just exciting things kind of up my sleeve with that. And I'll probably be phasing out my seasonal TDJ lives, my seasonal virtual retreats, and kind of rolling those into this annual program. Again, just as I think about, okay, time, energy, efficiency, simplicity, kind of a bit more slow living. How do I get that more into my life? And I'm So I will be making some shifts and I look forward to sharing them with you. I don't think there's anything like that's super dramatic that will affect you. I still plan to do the podcast, although in 2022, I may shift back to every other week. Again, just like asking myself, okay, what am I doing that I'm doing because I've always been doing it? Okay, that is like a bit tricky. But just checking in with yourselves from time to time. It's like, oh, I do this because I've always done it this way, right? Well, that's great. But is that the way you want to keep doing it, right? And if not, what shifts can we make? And so that's kind of where I am and where I have been. Again, not intentionally, probably, mid-July on. And I think whenever we experience loss in particular, especially shocking, devastating loss, not that loss is probably ever not devastating to some degree, but the shock of it has just like had massive, massive ripple effects. And so again, that leads to kind of a reevaluating of things. So that's just kind of where I am. And one thing I'll say about that, because I always love to share, well, what am I reading? I've had a really hard time focusing. I mean, for the past 2+ months, whenever I want to read, either it's like, oh, I need my glasses, or, it's like, oh, I'm just like not very, in the mood to kind of grasp material. It's like whatever. I just have really had a hard time focusing. And I'm so sad because in Goodreads, I'm 9 books behind my goal. Hopefully I can catch up. We'll see. I don't know. But, what I'm reading right now is something that I read like a few pages every night. And it's Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. Now, as a vegetarian, not like massive fan of some of his takes on things, but I'm reading it because as I work on my own memoir, it's this idea of like what really goes on behind the scenes, right? It's yoga, but it's also a business and just the challenges and kind of funny stories that come along with it. So I'm reading that book. And if you haven't seen the documentary about him called Roadrunner, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a really beautifully done documentary that definitely leaves you thinking. What am I watching? Again, I just like to share these different things. The Monica Lewinsky piece, I can't even remember what it's on, but it's really good about, her whole experience with Clinton. And then also there's a wonderful documentary called 15 Minutes of Shame that has like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Again, I'm not sure where it's on, what platform it's on, but I've started that, and that's just, about the challenges of like public shaming these days, and and her kind of being like the launch of it of sorts, or feeling that way. And that's something that she's really taken on as she's gotten older, and it's really beautiful to watch. And so that's kind of what I've been watching. Crazily enough, one thing I'm really excited about watching is the new Halloween movie. You may not know this about me, but I was raised on horror, and I don't like gore. I don't like, seeing things happen, but I do like the suspense. So anyway, the last Halloween movie was very good. So I'm excited about watching this new one. One other thing that has transpired since I did a life lately, and really in the past month, is I was in the ER. So, with the loss of Belle, my whole system has just been off, like, just nausea, exhaustion. It's so interesting, the physical effects of grief. And, grief can be for so many things. You don't necessarily have to lose a being. It could be losing an identity. It could be losing a job, right? There's so many ways in which grief shows up. But I went to the ER, for GI stuff, and was there for 7 hours before I was finally seen. This 10-minute appointment. And so that was an interesting experience. I don't know that I've ever been to the ER. I didn't take an ambulance there. Someone was like, oh, did you have sirens and the full thing? And I was like, no, I had an appointment. I was able to get an appointment day of with CVS, Mediclinic, the kind of quick in and out. And I thought they'd be able to help. And they were like, no, you need to go to the emergency room, right now. So I just took an Uber over, and it was raining. It was just this weird, dreary night. And it's funny because Tim had left earlier in the day to go out to the cabin with Mookie for a few days. And I texted him. I'm like, I'm en route to the ER. Gizmo's home alone. Can you go get him? Because I didn't know how long I'd be, and Sweet Gizzy does not like to be home alone. So anyway, it was like this weird experience. And, I'm fine now. I've got more tests next week. I'm sure it's nothing. The doctor was even like, yeah, when I see GI stuff, 90% of the time it's related to something that's going on in the person's life. And I was like, yeah, that would probably explain it. So anyway, really interesting experiences over the past few months. Another thing is, I'm still doing my daily ballet and kind of obsessed with it, loving it. My private teacher is going to be heading to Australia to help with a production of a show. And so he's going to be away for 3 months. And I'm so sad because I've come to really he's part of my day. He's part of my routine. And he's helping me work on choreography for The Lilac Fairy from Sleeping Beauty, because I signed up to do this performance piece in Miami late June. So I'm so excited about that because it, as a child, right, you practice all year for the annual recital. And as an adult, what am I practicing for, right? And so there's this woman, Bruce Ballet out of Denver, and she is putting together a conference in Miami late June. And it's right around my birthday. And then you also have the ability to sign up to do a solo performance. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm working on that. It's funny with ballet. I mean, you really it's like watching your hair grow to see progress. It's really, really slow, tedious, and quite frustrating at times. And Tim's like, why do you do this? This is supposed to be fun. I'm like, I know. But, it's like you want to get better. You want to be able to balance and things like that. And so it really is so good for the mind and the body and all sorts of things. I'm really, really loving it, even though I'm quite challenged by it. Paris. So I was in Paris, as you may know, early September. And, I have to say it was quite therapeutic to be able to go right after losing Belle. So it was like a week and a half later, and we had gotten her ashes later that week. And I took this really beautiful ceramic pink urn, a really tiny one that I had gotten for her. And I took it with me and I sprinkled some ashes in Luxembourg Garden, which is probably not something I'm supposed to do, but just a few, because she had been in Luxembourg Garden with us. And, we'd had a little photo shoot kind of for the family in there. And so she, was part of that. And so it was really sweet to kind of take her back to Paris in that way. But of course, it was also really, really sad. So I had a nice trip. I, went to 3 jazz shows. I shopped vintage. I think the only thing I got that was vintage at the thrift store was a little farmer's market bag, those straw kind of totes that many people, take to the farmer's markets in Europe. And so I got one of those at a used store, which was really lovely. And, and I just ate and drank and enjoyed the beauty of Paris. There's something about Paris that is really kind of calming and invigorating all at once. I also did a photo shoot for the clothing line just to showcase the 8-piece capsule kind of out and about. And we ended up doing a lot of the shoot from the balcony of the apartment I was in. The apartment itself wasn't is beautiful, but the balcony was gorgeous. So it was a really sweet place to get shots of Paris and Paris rooftops and things along those lines. And I'll share more photos from that soon. I have over on the blog photos from Paris, but not so much from that shoot yet. And the other thing is, into July, I moved into a new office and I shared photos of that new space on the blog. I think it was last week. And, it's just a really sweet space in the fact that, style is a tenet of TDJ: style, compassion, creativity, mindfulness, and wellness. And so when we think style, to me, it's not just clothing, right? It's also the way in which we decorate or set things up. And you can get a nice little peek inside. I'm there just a few times a week, and it's just a really kind of lovely, sweet, light-filled happy place. And it's a 4-minute walk from my house. So really, really nice and easy in that way. And one thing that it inspired me to do is do some massive decluttering here. So Tim, Mookie, and Belle were away kind of mid-August one weekend, and I just took everything apart. I ended up donating 4 pieces of furniture. One that was a 4x4 or 5x5 cube, those IKEA cubes. So imagine how many things that held. So I got rid of that. I got rid of another one that was like 4 or 5. I got rid of my desk and replaced it. And I got rid of the chaise lounge. I donated it to, it's hunks hauling junk, but they came and picked it up and then they take it to donation centers. So they try to, make sure it has a good home. And so that felt really good and really opened up space. And I got a big mirror, which is, that's the only, that and a desk to replace the desk I got rid of. But those are the only things I kind of purchased with this revamp. And the mirror is just lovely because it reflects light and it helps to just kind of open up a space. So that was really nice that I was able to get rid of so many things. It felt really good. I mean, I think I probably got rid of like 20% of my stuff, and it was nothing, it's like, I don't even know what I was holding on to. Maybe one was like a big kind of thing that goes under your mattress, like kind of like down-ish filled, faux down filled, and I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't used this in like years. Like, why am I keeping this in my closet? So donated just a ton of stuff. And that felt really good. Although there's always still more to do. But being in my new space, my new office space really inspired me. I'm like, well, why don't I kind of create this nice environment at home also? Because I will say it's tricky with all of our pets and my partner, Tim, who's a boy. So I feel like he's a little dirty, even though he's lovely. Tim, love you. But it's just like, just anyone else, right, in your space. It's, things are shift. And I know someone who told me that she cleans her house, like deep cleans 3 times a week. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I've deep cleaned my house, like, ever, So I was like, that's amazing. So, just kind of like pulling things together and feeling, like you have a space that you feel happy in. Like I'm looking to my right, I have some hydrangeas I picked up. I'm looking to my left, I have another little bunch of white flowers. I'm currently obsessed with white flowers, right? They're just very, very soft. I've got this beautiful mirror reflecting light that comes in from the sliding glass door. So things like that just kind of bring a sense of joy and happiness. And one last thing I wanted to mention, because a few of you have asked about it, is, I'd had a hip replacement scheduled for end of May because I do need one. But the thing about it is that, they don't last forever and you have to have them replaced from time to time. I think every 10 to 15 years-ish, right? And so I had it scheduled for Memorial Day weekend that Friday. And then I was like, I'd rather go on a road trip. So I canceled it and decided to just manage it for now with cortisone shots and anti-inflammatories. And anti-inflammatories aren't great to take daily because of liver and kidney issues, but I'm going to just have it monitored with blood work and then go that route for now so I can keep doing my ballet, not be stopped for 3 to 6 months, and then hopefully get as much out of my hip that I can before I need a replacement. So that's kind of life in general here in Washington, D.C. for me. My days are filled with beautiful clients and doing this annual program work and, of course, working on the podcast and doctor's appointments and vet appointments and, all that beautiful stuff. And the past weekend, of course, was really full because Friday I had co-creating, which is where my annual group and I get together for 1 hour and we just work on a project. And then I had the virtual retreat the next day, and then I had the TDJ style pop-up, right? So it was a lot of TDJ stuff over the weekend. And those of you interested in the TDJ style pop-up, I will put a link in the show notes. And if you're interested in purchasing the virtual retreat, if you couldn't join us live and you'd like the replay, just reach out to me and I will help coordinate that. So I hope that, just kind of sharing like the challenges of what's going on right now. Also the place I'm in with this idea of just living with less, trying to kind of suss out how to be as efficient and effective really as possible. And one thing too I wanted to mention is 2 days next week, I'm going to be doing some somatic trainings for therapy. And I will share that with you because I look forward to hearing. We're going to be talking about tapping and all sorts of things, which many of you may be familiar with, but I look forward to also bringing into my work. And my hope is that I'll just continue to offer you kind of rich information on how can we find and experience tranquility in the everyday. Right. So if you haven't hit subscribe in your podcast app, please do so you don't miss an episode. And also, if you have a moment to leave a review, I would be so grateful. And finally, join the waitlist for the annual program. You can do that at KimberlyWilson.com/2021. And of course, you'll find the show notes for this episode at KimberlyWilson.com/563. So as always, I wish you a beautiful week ahead. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your ongoing support. And thank you for being you. You're beautiful.